Oscar. I live in a dear little box of a house with a pretty garden, and I am frightened. I moved here about a year ago after my husband died, having endured a long illness. My friends and family said, now you must lead your own life. To begin with, I settled in happily enough with my dog and cat and a few bantams. Here I would end my days, a contented elderly widow. My married son and daughter were delighted. They were no longer saying, what shall we do about mother? It began a month after I had moved in, a very busy sort of scratching in the roof. I loathe rats, rather feeble for a country woman, I suppose. Anyway, I got the pest officer. I didn't fancy any sort of rodent skimming down the water pipe into the airing cupboard and nesting in the linen. A jolly man said, soon deal with this, missus, tramped about in the roof, had a cup of coffee, and left. All was quiet for a couple of weeks, and then the grinding and scratching started again. My terrier, who sleeps in my bedroom, became very agitated. Another pest officer came. No trouble at all. Soon sort this little buggers out. Pardon my language. Strange, though. No droppings. He departed. Peace reigned, but not for long. Yet another, in fact, 2 more pest officers arrived. Young, keen on the job, and determined to solve the problem. Cages were left, bait laid. They returned several times, but nothing eaten, nothing caught, nothing dropped. Funny. By now I was thoroughly unnerved. I told my friend Mary, do you notice anything odd about this cottage? No, she did not. I know it's absurd, I said, laughing nervously, but every few weeks there's a violent scrabbling in the roof, as if something's trying to get out. I've had 3 different lots of rat men without any success. She was intrigued. My dear old girl, you don't think you're haunted by a rat? We agreed I couldn't tell family. They would think I was going doolally, a late reaction to poor David's death. I could imagine the telephone calls. What could we do about Ma? There's some drama about a rat. I was most relieved in the garden. No sinister atmosphere there. I approached Fred, the occasional gardener, who had worked there for years. Over his morning cup of tea, I casually asked if anyone had ever complained about noises in the roof. Oh, you mean they have? That's right. Loud scratchings and growlings like. Been going on for years. No. But what is it? Couldn't say. Some beast scooped up like. But Fred, haven't people been frightened? Happen they have. What sort of beast? Couldn't say. He wouldn't withdrawn and went back to planting potatoes. I also mentioned it to my cleaner, Mrs. Ives, who had come with me from our previous house. Do you think this cottage is haunted, Mrs. Ives? Whatever gave you that idea, Mrs. B? Haunted? She gave a shriek of laughter. Pretty little place like this? Never. Her down-to-earth manner was rather a comfort. Nevertheless, the grinding, gnawing, growling went on. I'm going to get poor Oscar exorcised, I said to Mary. I had given the creature a name, whatever its sex. Calling it Oscar took away some of the fright. In fact, during the day, I hardly gave it a thought. At night was different. One hears of the hairs of people's necks rising with fear. Well, mine did. Mary wondered whether animals were exorcised. I think they go in more for cavaliers, with or without heads. Nevertheless, I called on the vicar. He was sympathetic, but didn't go in for that sort of thing himself. However, he knew a clergyman who did, and had, in fact, had quite a success in various haunts in the district. So I went to see the Reverend John Templar. He said it wasn't really his line, not animals, but he would come over. He was elderly, jovial, and very fat. I felt better, but worried over whether he would manage the ladder to the roof. He gave a reassuring laugh and said he'd tackled funnier places than roof ladders. We arranged an evening. Mary came to give me moral support. I knew she wouldn't miss it for anything. He arrived with all his accoutrements in a bag. Did it contain bell, book, and candle? I didn't like to ask. I know the actual exorcism is very secret. We lowered the ladder, and up we went, Mary and I waiting at the bottom in case he fell. It was 11 o'clock. Everywhere was very quiet. We heard him creaking about the wooden boards, the mumbling of the ritual. Was there a tinkle of a bell? He seemed to be up there rather a long time. Eventually he came carefully down the ladder and sat by the fire. I gave him a large whisky. Had he sensed anything? I asked. Yes, he had. Something very basic and, he hesitated, menacing. I gasped. However, he was certain he'd done some good. He then told us some of his ghost experiences, accompanied by great belly laughs. When he left, he patted my shoulder. You should sleep well tonight, my dear. And indeed I did, and many nights following. Dear, good, kind John Templar had given Oscar peace. I gave a large donation to his church. Last night it came back.